This is kind of what Dallas used to feel like after 9 o'clock. On just about any day. It's probably the last indicator that this is a working city. I don't mean like it works as far as functionality. I'm talking about works as far as jobs. It's job oriented. Even the most slacker prone of amongst us is not out of here right now. Something to think about. Folks in bed, you gotta get ready to go to work tomorrow. No, I was just thinking about, I'm not a big time patriotic guy, but I've been raised in a lot of civics, and it's just something to think about, that you got a colony out in the middle of the ocean that writes this note. So I'm wondering if the Declaration of Independence got out. Like, was it like they had it here, posted it on walls all over the colonies, or did somebody get a copy of it to like all of the other centers of government in Europe? They just spread like wildfires this declaration that's like, wait, one of England's colonies just flat out said that they will no longer follow the rule of the king. I was like, they can't do that. I was like, well, they just did. You know, there's my arrogant belief in American exceptionalism. Or was it more along the lines of some colony you never heard of in America, some colony you never heard of the British had, the big one in America, the little bitty one, or no, it wasn't the big one, the little bitty one, the little one in American is declaring that it's independent, and I was like, oh, this ought to be fun. You know, there's this weird belief that the United States was founded as a Christian nation. Not true. First colony was out here, like I said, the Jamestown colony was about getting paid. They had nothing to do with religious freedom. They were out here trying to see if they could make a place they could build cash crops so they could send it back to the factories and start building stuff. It's nuanced and complicated, but you can't simplify and say it was about religious freedom. It was about a lot of things. Religious freedom was just barely the tip of the iceberg. The country was founded by blah 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 blah. It's like at the time we barely knew that the earth was round and that it wasn't the center of the galaxy. Science was emerging, and it became increasingly more and more likely that what was written in various religious texts was a bit off. The founding fathers, most of them were deists, or varying types of Protestants that really started questioning why we do what we do. Oh man, I should have brought a bag and a, you know what, I wasn't thinking about picking up any trash. I wasn't thinking about anything today, just the speech I plan on writing that I might not get to do at DART. I noticed they said on Wednesday this thing starts at 11 or at 6 p.m. 1800 hours, but they didn't really have an end time. Oh, what did the boss down here say? It's wicked hot. Wicked hot. Yeah, can't do the accent, but it is 77% humidity mixed with over 80-degree temperature. It is weird out here. Something changed. So I guess it's just a matter of time before they knock that one down. Something don't sit right there. Something feels off. Hey, if there's a sidewalk, I'll walk it. Dry here too. That's for an 88 ramp. Wonder why they didn't put one in there in the first place. I love how mono neon sounds like a car that's waiting to start a race, revving the engine. Oh, now he's putting his foot on the gas. I'm just worried that he's got a bunch of heat rashes underneath all of that knit stuff that he wears. I bet you in winter though he's really comfortable. Yeah, I kind of knew that that one was on its way out. Like I said, if you want to know which house is probably going to be next, look for the ones with the expired registration stickers. Something interesting happening over there. It's been a while since I've done that. I'm going to be paying for that later. My side joint said, hey, all right, you think you're 35 again. I'm going to show you some things. I was like, I'm sorry, side joint, I know. Let's just say that I'm trying to get my money's worth out of my spine. Will it be me someday sitting in a meeting with a walker complaining that they went up 50 cents on fares? I mean, it's me now, right? But yeah, I want to talk about that, and I want to give a speech, but at the same time, I'm not hurting like everybody else. And I'll give you a taste of the speech I may make on Tuesday, and that is I pay for parking at work. But I also this year decided to buy an annual pass. For my first time buying a DART annual pass, and they're going to get rid of the program. How stupid. And since I bought it, I've actually been using it. I've gone on trips, and you've seen some of the videos where I go to meetings and I ride the rail. And I like it, but it's not enough. It doesn't come frequently enough, and there's not enough connectors to the main rail station for me to do this on a regular basis. As you see in my other video, it takes me an hour to walk down to the train station to ride it for like 15 to 30 minutes. It's really stupid. Like, my round trips take 3 hours, but the cool thing is it's just 3 hours of getting to see the city. It's 3 hours of getting to do something I don't hardly ever do. That's why I do it. It's an adventure, but it's not practical. And that's my whole gripe about DART, is it needs to be more. And then this is not the time to be pulling back routes. One of the routes that we had when I was growing up and going to school was 51 Walnut Hill. And it was a great way to take you all across the city. I used it to go to the DISD headquarters downtown. And then they eliminated that route. They took out 2 of the bus stops over in our area. And now what you've got in my area is pretty much a transit desert. And as a result of that, you got people driving that has no business driving. People with suspended licenses, people on anti-seizure medications, people who they kind of know how to drive, but they're driving a car that's substandard. Bald tires, messed up suspensions, engine problems. And they were sold this car by irreputable dealers. Bottom line, I say reputable, but irreputable dealers, bad guys, bad dealers, illegal dealers. In my neighborhood, there's more people parking on the street and on the sidewalks too, unfortunately. And this is all caused because if people don't have an alternate method of travel. We can't bike, we can barely walk. Driving is all there is. And DART would be doing us a service by servicing our area more. You say the ridership's not there, but what you really mean is the ridership is not there in quantities you're satisfied with. But it is there. And it can increase, and it would increase, but you don't give it a chance because you're treating transit as a business instead of a public service, which it is. When Dallas started out, it was a trolley system, and the trolley system was pretty much paid for by the developers, and they wanted people to buy houses out here and then take trolleys into the city. And they were losing money, but they were gaining profits in people buying houses out in the suburbs. Like, well, I don't have to drive all the way out there. Back in those days, I guess you had horses and whatever else. Cars were really kind of a rich people's niche thing. And sometime around the 1950s, they decided that mass transit was the way to go. Just like a bunch of other things from the 50s, probably a bad idea. Keep in mind, in the 50s, at the same time, they also thought that putting asbestos in roofs was a good idea without properly studying it. And suddenly you had people who were putting this stuff in the roofs dying of cancer. They thought lead paint was a good idea. We had all these experts who said this was a good idea. And when we found out that it was dangerous to our health, we pulled it. But we haven't done the same to cars. Even though cars are about the same, if not worse, than some of the health problems that lead paint and asbestos was causing. Go out there and look at an AQI map. Go out there and look at the cancer maps around the country and find out that people that live next to refineries and high traffic areas, higher incidence of cancer. I really wouldn't mind taking this all the way up to Manning and coming back. That's too bold, man. Pretty sure the DPD would come up to me and say, hey man, what you doing? And I'll say I'm walking. And they're like, at midnight? I was like, yeah, had a late start. But I can see their point of view. Everybody's snug as a bug in a rug. I'm out here walking around in the nasty humid, talking to myself. Kind of like the dude on the train. Only I don't see figments of my imagination. Like I said, I don't know if he was talking to me, but he didn't know how to talk to me. He would have said, sir, I feel uncomfortable with that camera on. Can you turn the camera off? I would have said, yeah, I'll do that. Would have turned it right off. But I don't think he was talking to me. Because I tried to say something and then he just looked past me like I wasn't there. Then I looked up and I looked around and he was looking at this Asian fella who was not looking at him. Wow, what kind of bird is that? I'm gonna listen to this for a while over the hum of air conditioning. Yeah, I'm not the only son of a bitch out here doing something. We got a night warbler. I hear airplane noise, a car noise. Birds and locusts. At 12:30 at night. Double 036. It's really neat. Oop, bunny. Well, it was nice while it lasted. Is it 2 minutes of nature? In Dallas, you find these little pockets. Like if I got my bike like I had planned, I would be riding up to the North Haven Trail. I mean, to the White Rock Trail. So there was during the pandemic. That was like 5 years ago. There were places where there was just nothing going on. Like there's no lights. When it gets dark, it's pitch black. I didn't know that such places existed within Dallas proper. Right there on Harry Moss Park, the darkness is like a blanket. It just sits there thick. It feels like you can actually touch it. Like something physical. The rule is if I can hear the plane over my headphones, it's too loud. Yeah, man, you want to talk about, it's been an interesting few weeks. It was an interesting month. Getting bit by a dog, learning how to render 360-degree video. In the midst of all that, I bought a new computer. I got the Atom Man G7 and I've been trying it out, and it rendered a 3-hour 360 video, or no, almost a 4-hour 360 video. About 10 to 15 hours. I don't know if I can make this faster. I don't know if what I need to do is just break down, get Windows, put it on the system, and then just run the Insta360 in Windows. That's the only reason I would get Windows right now, is I would not get it to do anything but that. And from what I hear, you can download and install Windows 11 for free, and I guess never register it. I don't know. Seems like a lot of trouble to go through just for one program. And for all I know, I put bottles on there. It might be running, like, it might run the same in bottles as it does in Windows. I don't know. What I'm hoping is that with the Atom Man G7 is the video card is the main display. Like, you can't get around it. It is all inherently built in. So what I'm hoping is that the graphics card is being utilized in the render process. I felt the top of it, it was getting super hot, and I don't know if that's super hot because of the graphics card or that's super hot because of the main processor, which is a Ryzen 9. But I now have two computers, two mini PCs designed just for intensive graphics. Both of them experiments. One of them was the one where I made my own external GPU, and I used the GPU using the Oculink port. The problem is that when you got the Oculink port, what you sacrifice is the ability to use 2 SSD cards. I'll probably just wind up buying that's probably what I need to do, is just get another SSD stick and like a 4 terabyte SSD. So what have you learned about Oculink? What have I learned about Oculink? Like, it's hard to run external drives and the Oculink port at the same time. I have this weird thing happen where sometimes the mouse and the keyboard will drop out. Maybe it's a Linux driver issue, but I think it's really just the North Bridge is overwhelmed. Sometimes when I'm playing Steam games, audio will just drop out. I don't think that's the driver issue per se. The problem is the BIOS. The problem is the motherboard that I have, or the Minis Forum computer I have. You can't turn off the onboard audio, which is stupid. And it has onboard audio. And I think what's happening is the onboard audio is conflicting with the HDMI audio from the external card. Like I had that problem where I couldn't get the display, was doing all sorts of funky things, and what happened was when I disabled the onboard display, the listen to Super Mario here. When I disabled the onboard display, everything ran smoothly. But it's such a weird way to rig things up. Like Oculink is faster than the Thunderbolt 4. And the setup I got was good for, in theory, I guess it would be an intense frame rate. Once again, and maybe if I ran Windows, things would run a lot smoother. I just don't know. I think that's the way these Mini Forum computers are designed. It's like you're going to run Windows, so the BIOS is extremely limited because you're supposed to be doing everything from the computer itself. I mean, from the operating system itself. Which means if I'm doing it in Linux, I have to go into the command line and change the mod probe D to not turn on the audio. And I just don't want to do all of that. There's times that I wish Linux had something similar to Device Manager, where you just go in there and flip a switch and it turns it off. If I went into the control panel, I could just say disable onboard audio and maybe fix some of the Oculink issues I'm having. Man, I never thought this thing would ever play this while I was walking. Jesse Powell, you. Song gets me every time. Of course, an asshole will be driving by. It's always the songs that I love. I didn't hear anything the whole time I was walking up that other area. Wow. No, they do everything wrong here. Anyway, it's all supposed to be, yeah, you know, whatever. I put in construction site complaints and they say, oh, you didn't see anything, Mr. Young. Well, we'll monitor the area. So, one of the things about the Adaman G7 I noticed was the cool thing about having multiple processors is you can render a video, and in the background you could be playing a YouTube video, and the YouTube video, it was playing, like, so yesterday I was rendering the walk-in meeting video, and I could hear just, and then I was showing my mom just the raw meeting video, and she started watching it, and the problem was I didn't expect her to start watching it, but she just sat down and she's like, I need to sit down, and I was like, I kept expecting her to get up and walk away, and she kept watching the video, and she said, this just makes you mad, and I was like, that's kind of the point, but yeah. She's like, it's like, there's no way this should be like this, and I was like, I know, Mom, but it is. She's like, that could be me, and I was like, it could be. My mom's 80 years old and still drives, and she hates it. And she doesn't get on freeways. She doesn't like, and she barely likes driving on side streets. And then she was looking at some of the answers they were given. She's like, that's BS. She's like, that's just eliminating it because nobody uses it. Like, those people use it. And then she got mad about the Go Link thing because we had tried that with my old man, and that was a disaster. My dad said he was terrified and he started having panic attacks. My mom had to give him sedatives to calm him down because the dude was just driving so erratically. That's what that old lady was talking about, how you got all these people waiting up to get a ride. And then she was talking about some of the bad drivers. Like, they put the worst drivers on Go Link, and they put the worst drivers on the handicapped pickup. Dart is a mess. Dallas Observer was pointing that out. How they got bus drivers who can't even, bus drivers barely getting paid anything, can't take any sick time, and they need to take sick times that whenever, like, the power steering fails on a bus and they're trying to steer this thing and they mess up their elbows and shoulders. And how their union is pretty much kind of eroded away. I need to say something about that. Oh. Well, this is not wet down here for a change. We need new street signs. I haven't been able to put in tickets like I want because I've been fiddling with everything else. iMac. Would I ever buy an Apple product? No, I have Linux. I wouldn't even get it for the video editing. I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out, is why is it that, so I pay $1,000 for a mini PC with that's basically wrapped around a graphics card. I paid $1,000 for a console is what I did. So why, when I could get something like that, would I pay $2 grand for an Apple that's in a closed ecosystem? And the only reason I can think of that people like Macs is because they make them idiot proof. But I said before, you just haven't met the right idiot. That would be funny if Mac ever, or if Linux ever came out with a idiot proof Linux. Would that put Apple out of business overnight? Could Linux ever be idiot proof? No, there's too many developers that. The problem I have with Linux is that you'll find a program for free and it's like the guy put it together and he's like, man, this is a lot of work. Okay, it works okay. It's good enough. Like it's full of bugs, but it works good enough for somebody to grab it and kind of use it a little bit. And then they just leave it like that for the entire run of the software's life cycle. Remember a version release, case in point, I got this 3D video, but I got no player that really works with it all that well. The only one that works is VLC, and VLC makes me cringe. It's just, I don't like the controls. Like when you've been used to using MPV player and all these other ones where all you do is press one button and you can go cycle back and forth through a video, VLC seems outdated. And I know you can change the hotkeys and all that, but I don't want to bother. And then sometimes VLC can be pretty clunky. I'll look at a video and all of a sudden the video starts to look all garbled and weird looking, and then eventually it renders it right. And I think VLC was fine back in the early 2000s when we didn't have much of a choice and there was Windows Media Player. But I think VLC needs a massive shift. It needs to be a little sleeker and needs to run a little bit sleeker. Plus I get this feeling that they're making it more for like the Windows people now. I get that feeling about a lot of things. If you're not a Windows user, you're not shit. So I'm going to start hitting the button and then pressing it again so that, because I used to do this with my old cameras, I'd hit the shutter button to stop it,